Have you ever seen someone walk into a bar and felt like they didn't belong in this world at all? I've worked as a bartender in a small bar on the edge of town for a couple of years now. It's not a glamorous place, just a dimly lit spot with old wood floors, neon beer signs, and the kind of regulars who never seem to go home. Most nights are uneventful. Loud music, too many shots, people laughing too hard at nothing. But there was one night I'll never forget. It started like any other Friday. The bar was packed, the music was thumping, and I was slamming drinks out as fast as I could make them. Around 11, I noticed an older couple walk in. Strange, because this wasn't the kind of place you'd expect to see anyone over 60. They didn't head to the bar or the dance floor. They went straight for the corner booth, the one that always seemed colder than the rest of the room. At first, I didn't think much of it, but as the night wore on, I realized they hadn't ordered anything. Not a drink, not even water. They just sat there, motionless, watching. Their eyes never left the bar. Curiosity got the better of me. When I had a second to breathe, I walked over to their booth with a smile plastered on my face. The woman didn't look at me. Her eyes stayed locked on the wall. The man, though, he turned his head slowly, like it took all his strength. His skin was gray, almost waxy, and his eyes were so dark they barely reflected the light. He didn't say a word, just shook his head once. Something about that single gesture made me feel sick. I backed away, muttered something under my breath, and went back behind the bar. But when I glanced back again, both of them were staring at me. Not blinking, not moving, just staring. I tried to ignore it, focus on the noise and chaos around me. But every time I looked up, their eyes were on me. And then, as suddenly as they appeared, they were gone. The booth was empty. I figured they'd slipped out without me noticing, until I closed up later that night. I was locking the doors with one of the cooks when I glanced across the street. Under the flickering glow of the streetlight stood the couple, side by side, facing the bar. They didn't move. They didn't speak. They just waited. I bolted to my car and drove home faster than I ever had in my life. To this day, I don't know who they were or what they wanted. But sometimes, when I'm behind the bar late at night, I catch myself glancing toward that corner booth, half expecting to see them sitting there again. Have you ever been alone in a bar after closing and felt like something else was still there with you? I've been a bartender for years, and I've seen my share of drunks, fights, and strange people. But nothing prepared me for what happened one night when I was working the closing shift at a small bar downtown. It was a quiet Wednesday, the kind of night where the jukebox plays low, the regulars sip their beers, and you can almost hear the neon buzzing above the door. Around midnight, the last customers left, and I was finally alone. I locked the doors, dimmed the lights, and started my routine, wiping down the counter, stacking glasses, sweeping the floor. That's when I heard it. A soft clinking sound, like a glass being set down at the far end of the bar. My first thought was that I'd missed one of the regulars, that someone had stayed behind without me noticing. I called out, but no one answered. I walked to the end of the bar, and that's when I saw it. A full glass of whiskey sitting neatly on the counter. I knew I hadn't poured it. The bottle was still capped behind me. My stomach twisted, but I forced myself to laugh it off. Maybe I'd forgotten. Maybe I was just tired. I picked up the glass to dump it, but before I could, the jukebox turned on by itself. A low, scratchy old tune started playing, the kind of music from another time, slow and haunting. The lights above the booth in the back flickered, and for just a second, I swore I saw someone sitting there. I froze. The booth was dark, but I could make out the shape of a man. Broad shoulders, a hat pulled low. He wasn't moving. He was just watching. I told myself I was imagining it. I blinked, and the booth was empty. But when I turned back to the bar, the whiskey glass was gone. In its place was an old, crumpled matchbook from a club I'd never heard of. The logo on it looked faded, like it hadn't existed in decades. I didn't finish cleaning that night. I grabbed my things, locked up, and left as fast as I could. The next morning, when I came back for my shift, the matchbook was still sitting on the counter, exactly where I'd left it. I asked the owner about it, and his face went pale. He told me that years ago, long before I worked there, a man was shot in that back booth after ordering his last drink, a whiskey. And sometimes, late at night, bartenders still see him sitting there, waiting for one more round.